everyone, and welcome to the Yarn Curator podcast. My name is Naomi and I am the Yarn Curator. Welcome to my, sorry the wind's blowing, welcome to my YouTube channel where I talk about knitting and spinning and crafting. You guys actually might get a little bit of gardening in today's episode because I'm going to talk a little bit about what's behind me. So yeah, welcome to my channel, everyone. As I said, my name is Naomi. I am the Yarn Curator. If you are interested in following me on social media, you can find me on Instagram as the Yarn Curator. On Ravelry, my username is House of Cardigans. However, I am thinking about switching that over to the Yarn Curator. I have one name change left on Ravelry, and I'm debating if I want to change it. Just to keep everything consistent across my channels. And then I do also have a website called theyarncurator.com where I post copies of show notes, some extra little photos that just sometimes don't make it in episodes, and I do have a couple things of hand-spun yarn for sale on there, and by no means there's not much. I'm not looking to get rich off of it, but if I can make a little bit of money to support the hobby, why not? So welcome to my channel, you guys. I do have to apologize. It has been like 3 weeks since I last sat down to film an episode, and I do apologize for that. Life has just been insanely busy, crazy, hectic, to say the least. And I will talk about that some more at the end of the episode for those of you who just want to jump right into the knitting. I totally respect that. I do have to say, I tried filming this yesterday and it was a bit of a hot mess. There was a lot I forgot that I wanted to say because I am a little bit of a hot mess right now. And so I decided to just, I took the rest of the day yesterday to sit and just knit and relax. And it's the first time I've kind of taken a day just for me and some self-care, probably in about a month. And so I really needed it. My house looks awful inside right now. My front yard looks awful, but you know what? I just needed a little bit of me time. So I was a little selfish with my time, but you gotta do what you gotta do, right? So anyways, so I was going back, I was re-watching the film footage, and I just wasn't happy with it. So I'm hoping I can remember everything that I wanted to say today. And yeah, so we're gonna jump right in. I do have one finished object for you guys. However, I'm gonna have to overlay film footage of the finished object of me talking right now because it's currently blocking and drying in the sun, and it is what it is. So I finished my Rancho Relaxo tee. It is a pattern by SweaterFreak Knits. It is a shop sample that I am doing for my local yarn shop, which is called Stash, a Place for Yarn, located in St. Petersburg, Florida. They put out a call on Instagram about a month and a half, 2 months ago, asking for sample knitters. I responded and then was selected. This was the pattern they gave me. So this is knit out of yarn by Knit One Purl Two. No, not Knit One Purl Two. That's the name of a yarn shop, I think. Knit One Crochet Two is the name of the yarn brand. It is on their Daisy base, and it is made out of a blend of hemp, linen, and silk. I believe it's 35% hemp, 35% linen, and then 30% silk. I could be a little off. As always, I'll put down in a banner down here, excuse me, information about that yarn. So I knit this primarily on size 4 needles. The whole pattern except for one part is knit on size 4s. It's a really quick knit. The only thing I have to say in terms of things, I'm sorry, I'm staring at it if you see me looking off. The only thing I would say about it in terms of things I would change, for me, it's a little short in the torso. I knit it exactly to pattern since it is a sample for the yarn shop. However, that being said, if I was knitting another one for myself, I would lengthen the body. I don't know if I just have a particularly long torso or what, because I'm only 5'2", not even, you guys. I'm somewhere between 5'1" and 5'2", so I'm not tall. Not my neighbors directly behind me, but I'm pretty sure the ones next to them, their kids outside playing, and they have a pool. So hopefully they don't hear me talking. If they do, whatever. I'm the crazy girl next door who talks about knitting in her backyard. Train of thought. So anyways, I don't think I have a particularly long torso. But when I tried it on after I fit, and it does fit nicely, it's a little bit shorter than I particularly would prefer, and I think in general I prefer my garments to be a little bit longer. I like for things to kind of hit about mid-hip length in general, and so this one's just a little short for me, but it's a really nice pattern. It's a V-neck top. There's a little bit of waist shaping, and then you go into the detail at the bottom, which is a series of increases and decreases to create a chevron effect with drop stitches in between. So I currently have it on the blocking mats, and I finished it this morning, and the only other part of the pattern that requires another needle is the neckline. So it is a V-neck, and until you do this, it's a pretty, revealing V-neck. So what you do is you pick up in a smaller needle. For me, it was a size 3. So you pick up around the neck and then bind off, and it just tightens everything up. And so, yeah, there's the instructions for that on there, and because I don't want to give away too much of the pattern. So yeah, so that was a really enjoyable knit. It was really quick. I think from start to finish, it took me, sorry, there was a wasp. I think from start to finish, it took me roughly 11 days total knitting, about 11 days. I did work on it kind of non-stop for a while since it is an obligation knit, and so I wanted to go ahead and knock it out for my local yarn shop, and so I'm going to take it there Tuesday night and when we have knit night. So yeah, so that's done. I do have to apologize if it's a little hard to hear. The summer is finally breaking here in Florida, and we have this delightful breeze, which is why I decided to sit down and film in my backyard today. So yeah, it's really nice. John and I, when we moved in, our backyard was kind of a blank slate, so to speak. There's not a stitch of grass in our backyard. It's all completely mulched over, and then the previous homeowners did do things to make it a little bit more private, and so one of our things to expand upon that is we built this trellis behind us, so it completely blocks our neighbor's view from the backyard. We planted some bougainvillea, which you can't really see because this volunteer passion flower vine took over. So you can see the flowers back here have completely covered the trellis. I actually need to get in and thin it out a little, and then I don't know if you can see it, but there is, right behind me is one of our bougainvillea plants. So it was a pretty inexpensive fix for our backyard. I think we spent maybe $100 or so on materials to create some nice privacy. As you can see, maybe there was a butterfly floating around just behind my head a second ago. They absolutely love the passion flower. I know once the bougainvillea blooms, it should be attract pollinators as well. Actually, kind of right about where I'm sitting right now used to be a big bush, and we decided to go ahead and rip that out. We have another one of these bushes on the side of our house, and that also attracts a lot of pollinators, and so they're called a fire bush. Some people call them butterfly bushes. I have one right outside my office at work, so I told John, I was like, look, I already look at it all day. There's like 4 around our house. Like, can we do something different? It also took up a huge square footage in our relatively small backyard. And while we're talking about future dreams for our backyards, kind of over here in the side, I'll take some footage and put it in. I actually eventually want to plant a butterfly garden over there. We just want to paint our house first, so I haven't done any paint or any planting because I don't want that to make the painting process any harder than it needs to be. But I have a list on my phone of butterfly friendly plants, and so we'll get some echinacea, coneflower. I don't know, I've been trying to look up ones that are good for our zone. So we're in zone 9 for Florida, and will grow here, are colors that I like, and then will attract pollinators, like I said. So that will eventually be this little corner behind our house, which I think is going to be absolutely lovely. Right now there's just a hibiscus plant over there. Anyways, I digress. So that is my finished object, a really well-written pattern, like I said, by SweaterFreak Knits is the handle for that company. I do have to say about the yarn, I found it tend to hurt my hands if I knit for extended periods of time with it. And I don't know if it's just because it doesn't have as much spring and give as wool, but after a few hours of knitting, my hands, the muscles in my hands would feel pretty sore and crampy. Like I said, I just attribute it to the fiber content. That being said, it's incredibly light. It breathes well. I think it's going to be a great yarn for here in Florida. I'm a little sad I have to hand it over to the yarn shop, because I could easily have a new garment in my wardrobe in like a week and a half. But it's all good. I can always knit another one. So that's it for finished objects. Oh my God. The world's biggest, like literally like that big. I'm not even lying, like a flying quarter just came at me. Okay, the plane is almost done flying by. So I only have 2 whips to talk about this week with you guys. They're both projects you've seen here before on the podcast. But first up is my Navelli tee. So I went to Asheville last weekend for a bachelorette party. My childhood best friend is getting married. You guys have seen the shawl I'm working on for her, which I do need to pick back up. I kind of took a break from it, and I think this week I'll pick it back up and try and knock out one of the lace sections. Anyways, her bachelorette party was in Asheville this weekend. I think we sat down and figured out it's been 2 decades that we've been friends for now, because we met in 6th grade. So that's about right. Anyways, I went back and forth about what I wanted to take for my travel knitting on the plane, and none of my current projects were really doing it for me. I debated casting something on, but I have so many needles from my interchangeable set out that I was like, no, you don't need another project, Naomi. I really don't want to knit any socks right now. Like, the sock mojo is gone. So nothing was really speaking to me. So anyways, when one wants an easy, portable traveling project, of course you pick a colorwork tee. But the good news is, where I was in the project was really in the early initial stages. So I really only needed to bring 2 balls of yarn and my needles, and they packed light into my case. So I ended up taking Navelli with me. So it's made quite a bit of progress, and part of that was a byproduct of, with the Rancho Relaxo tee, I needed the size 3 tips that are currently on my Navelli tee, and so I kind of needed to get through the colorwork section so I could finish the finishing on that. So without further ado, so this is Navelli. As I said, it's a pattern by Caitlin Hunter. Before I went to Asheville, I was kind of right around here in terms of the colorwork section. This is from this middle, kind of the predominant part of the pattern. That medallion section is really what I got done at the airport, and a little bit of downtime over the weekend. There were quite a few hangovers, myself included, on our second day there, and so everyone kind of took a nap at one point. I'm a terrible napper. I think I fell asleep for about 15 minutes, and then I got up and I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna sit in a corner and knit while everyone recharges. So what I got done when I was in Asheville, like I said, I was about here before I took off. got to about here by the time I got back home, so really this middle third section. And then the last few evenings I've just been working on finishing the color work chart, which is here. When I sat down to film yesterday, I had just finished the color work chart, and so it was about here. So in my self-care yesterday, I knit about 1.5 inches, 2 inches on the body. So this is coming along nicely. I am knitting this out of Holst Yarn Co. in their Coast base. It's a 55% lamb's wool, 45% cotton blend, and the colors I'm using are wisteria, charcoal, and I believe freesia, although I have to double check that. And as I said, I'll put everything here. So yeah, it's really nice. You guys, this yarn, I thought it felt scratchy at first when I first got it, but now that I'm knitting with it, it's incredibly soft. Not a whole bunch of scratch to it, and it's so light. I mean, this is all color work here, and it feels super light, especially in comparison to like Soldotna, which is out of a DK, but a similar blend in terms of fiber content. And so I'm really pleased with it. I really like the way the pattern's coming along, and I'm absolutely loving this purple color up here. It kind of reminds me of like the translucent quality to some stained glass, although you don't really see much purple in stained glass, but that's kind of what it reminds me of. And then I kind of like the overall faded tweedy look within it as well. So this is, like I said, this is it. This is what I've done. I think it's just gonna fly off the needles now that the color work is done. So I'm probably gonna put it down though for a little bit. Like I said, I really need to work on the shawl for Amelia's wedding. That is my wedding gift to her. And I have like 1.5 months, 2 months to finish it, so I'll get cracking on that. And then I did have an idea, so this is going to be a random tangent, but I'm debating also knitting a pair of socks for her wedding, and like kind of doing like a tongue-in-cheek gift, like so you can't get cold feet, and maybe knitting them out of some old blue yarn in my stash. I don't know, it's an idea I've been kicking around the last few days. There was a little bit of drama that followed the bachelorette party that I am not going to get into because I only got sucked into it accidentally via an accidental text message, so it's not my business to tell. However, I was thinking it might be a nice little gift for her to lift her spirits back up after everything that went down this week following the bachelorette party. Yeah. So that is my Navelli. So the only other whip that I have that I've been working on is my Stalactites sweater. So this is a pattern by Camille Rosselle. It is from an old issue of Lina magazine, and I am knitting this out of Croft 29 yarn. It's 100% Heberdean wool, and then for the accent color is some old Berroco that I had in my stash, just in a nice white natural color. So this is what I've done so far. So the last time I showed this on the podcast, I hadn't yet divided for the sleeves. I think I had just finished doing one repeat of the stitch pattern. So if you watch, those of you who have watched this from the beginning, you know that my sister and I are kind of, well, we're not just BFFs, but we're knit BFFs too. And so so Zoe has her own podcast as well called Felicity Yarn Studio. It's under the same name as her hand-dyed indie yarn shop on Etsy. So Zoe and I are knitting these as matching sweaters for SAFF, which is the Southeastern Animal and Fiber Fair. It's a big wool event that takes place in the Southeast in Asheville, North Carolina every year. And so we're both going to SAFF. So we were going to knit matching sweaters, and this was what we chose. We're using matching yarns, except she's using a different contrast color. I believe she's using some Brooklyn tweed. Anyways, all of this is to say, about 2 weeks ago, Zoe sent me a text and she's like, hey, my gauge is way off for my sweater. And it was like 2 inches bigger than it needed to be everywhere. And both of her and I both knew that the Croft 29 was going to knit up heavier anyways, based on talking to the vendor when we bought it. So I initially cast on a size medium. After talking to her, pulling out my gauge swatch, doing some maths, I was like, well, crap, mine's going to be bigger too. So my train of thought at the time was, well, I'm just going to increase up to the size small instead of the size medium, and things should be okay. Well, I went ahead and was like, you know what, let me go ahead and put my sweater on another set of needles and I'll try it on. Based on how much more I would have needed to increase, and what it was fitting like then, it was still going to be huge on me. So I just increased up to the number of stitches needed for the size extra small. I am not an extra small, you guys. I mean, this is I think I have a 47-inch bust. So clearly both of our gauges are way off. So I knit up to the size extra small and then divided. What that does mean though is the stitch pattern here, I believe, is supposed to kind of jog in between. So I did some creative fudging just to knock mine off slightly off center from the row above, and it's gonna be fine. No one's gonna stare at my sweater that closely. I don't know if it's a byproduct of how the pattern is written, the way the gauge falls, or if it's a byproduct of us using heavy DK yarn for a worsted weight pattern. I do know, if you watch Caroline, who has the Dunder Knit podcast, when she talked about making hers in one of her very early episodes, I believe she also had a similar issue with her gauge. So it's all good. It's going to fit fine at the end of the day. However, that's that. So hey, good news for me. Less knitting I have to do. I think this is the first time in my life I've ever knit an extra small anything. So yeah, this is my stalactite sweater. I'm really enjoying it. It's going to be a great project for SAFF. Initially, I was thinking I was going to have to back out of being able to go to SAFF because my car decided to be more expensive in repairs than was worth keeping it. So we actually ended up buying a new car about 2 weeks ago, and sorry, my screen just went blank on me. Anyway, so my car decided it needed close to $2,500 worth of repairs. So, and it was worth about $3,000 at that point. So we traded in my well-loved Subaru Forester. It just did not make financial sense anymore to keep it. And so we got a little Honda CRZ. However, you know, adjusting our budget and things along those lines were not things I was planning for. So yeah, I was thinking, you know, I texted my mom and I texted Zoe and I was like, hey, I don't know if I'm going to make it up for SAFF. And then my mom very sweetly offered to pay for my fare up there as my Christmas present. So thanks, Mom. Alright, you guys, I don't know what it is about filming this episode, but I swear to God, the universe does not want it to happen. Anyway, so where it left off before my phone decided to stop filming is I am going to SAFF. Like I said, my mom is going to pay for my airfare up there, so thanks, Mom. Really appreciate that one. So that's exciting. I was thinking I wasn't going to be able to make it. Like I've said in the past, SAFF, which is the Southeastern Animal and Fiber Fair, happens every year the same weekend as our annual fundraiser at work, and so I think this is the only year I'm going to be able to get away with taking off and going. So yeah, I know, and I do have a little bit of acquisitions to share with you guys, and then I do need to announce, there's the North Carolina coming out in me. I do need to announce the giveaway winner for the 100 subscriber giveaway that I posted in my last episode. So yeah, I'm gonna jump right in with that. So congratulations, Cindy Surratt. You are the winner of the 100 subscriber giveaway. So I have this little John Arbin project bag that I'm starting to fill with goodies for you. I think I want to go out and get a skein of yarn from a local indie dyer and throw that in. There's a couple other things in here that I have set aside to throw in the mail for you. There's a skein of some linen yarn because I talk about using things beyond wool here as a Florida knitter. So this is some 100% yarn from Chiagoo. Sorry, my hair gets in everything. It is in their apple colorway. It's a really interesting construction. It's made out of chainette ply, and then I have some Swan's Island, one of their onesie skeins. It's gotten a little beat up the number of times I've pulled it out of here now. So Swan's Island's really cool. They're all about sustainability and ethically sourcing their wools. It is in the orchid colorway. It's naturally dyed as well, and there's 525 yards within this scheme. So like I said, I want to go out, probably get something from a local dyer here and get that in the mail to you. So please send me a message either on Ravelry. You can shoot me an email at theyarncurator@gmail.com. And let me know your address so I can get this in the mail to you. So that's it for a little bit of administration. I do have one acquisition to show you guys. So a couple weekends ago, I got together with a couple of my aunts who live about 2 hours north of me in Brooksville, and we went to their local yarn shop up there called the Stitchin' Witch. It's in Spring Hill, Florida, which is right next to Brooksville. I did take some film footage while I was there, so I'm going to record another little vlog and get that uploaded separate from this episode. That way anyone who's coming to Florida and wanting to check out local yarn shops can do that as well. So it's a really nice yarn shop. It really surprised me in terms of their selection and breadth of offerings. Since I had just found out the day before that I needed a new car, I only bought one thing because we're on a pretty strict budget from here on out. So I got one thing of fiber because my fiber stash is getting a little bit low. So I got this braid from Sweet Georgia. It is on her Panda base. So this is 60% superwash merino, 30% bamboo, 10% nylon in the amethyst colorway, and hopefully it'll come through on here. I know the sun's kind of beating right down on me, but this is a really lovely braid with deep dark purples and pinks and a little bit of charcoal, and then that silver you're seeing come through on it is from the bamboo, I'm pretty sure. So hopefully that's coming through. It's hard to tell because the sun is right on me. So yeah, I tried to use some restraint in the yarn shop because I'm about to have less money every month in my household because now I have a car payment again. But it's all good. And then, you know, other than that, you know, life has just been busy. My husband has had a lot of health issues that we've been trying to get diagnosed and treated. So that's part of why I've been a little absent lately, is just it's been a lot of trips to doctors and specialists in the pharmacy and trying out new prescriptions and seeing what does and doesn't work for some of the issues he's having. I'm not going to go into detail in it here because he's a fairly private person. It's nothing life-threatening, you know, thank goodness, but it's been a journey to say the least. So yeah, I think we're on the road to getting him healthy again. He did get a new specialist for one of the issues he's been having, and she's been absolutely phenomenal. You know, is very communicative, very responsive, and you know, we were at the grocery store last night and she gave him a call. She had been monitoring some of the statistics, and said, you know, I'm going to adjust some of the settings and things along that with one of the machines he's been using. So anyways, that's been really good. Give me 1 second. I'm going to wait for the plane to pass from overhead. Okay, that's really funny, you guys. I just looked up. I'm 90% sure that's an Allegiant airplane, which is a budget airline that I just took up to Asheville. And when we were flying back in, I was like, I'm pretty sure we're flying over my house right now based on the topography from overhead and where the airport is in relation to my house. So now I can confirm my suspicion that we most definitely probably flew over my house. That's really funny. So anyways, yeah, life has just been busy. I'm hoping to settle back down into more of a routine because we tend to be... Sorry, another plane just decided to fly overhead. Anyways, all of that is to say, I am hoping that things will calm down here in a little bit, settle into more of a routine. We tend to be kind of home buddies and just take things slow and relaxing in the evenings and hang out together. So I'm really looking forward to things settling back down into more of a state of normalcy. So thank you so much for tuning in, you guys. I'm going to go ahead and pop off. And yeah, I am looking forward to seeing you in another week or two. Like I said, look out for that vlog about the Stitchin' Witch. And yeah, till next time, feel free to like, comment, subscribe. Let me know what's going on in your life. And yeah, till next time, thanks so much for watching. Have a great day, you guys. Bye.